Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I bid to all. My name is Aqilah Khadijah Binti Rosili. The supervisor for my research is Dr. Rohayati Hassan and the co-supervisor is Dr. Nur Hidayah Zakaria. The topic of my presentation today will be predicting court decisions for alimony using AI models. Without any delay, the outlines of these presentations will cover for introductions, literature review, research methodology, and will briefly discuss about the preliminary results, and last part will be the conclusions. For introductions, I will cover study background, the problem statement, research questions, objective, and the significance of the study. So basically for the study background, we know that nowadays we have been demand for everything must be handled quickly and efficiently. This is to ensure that the services can be implemented well in line with the rapid development of the technology and informations, and there is no exceptions for the legal system as well. So in 2018, Zenu said that artificial intelligence is currently in the center of the attention for legal professionals. And in 2020, Nikolskaya came out with a statement that case automation is an area where artificial intelligence algorithms can make a significant impact, where the automation will allow you to process cases much faster. So to make in line with our legal system nowadays, it will be a long process, and of course it will use a lot of time in making the decisions. And also there is no systematic system or specific timeline for the decisions to be made by the lawyers or the judges. Hence, this study will propose the implementations of the artificial intelligence into the legal system in Malaysia, especially for the Sharia courts. The problem statement come out from the study background just now is that given a few variables, the challenge is to identify which variables have the strong effect in determining the allocated alimony. Subsequently, how the prediction model can be developed to easily estimate the amount of alimony ordered by the court. So there are three research questions from the problem statement just now. The first one is how to analyze the variables that being used to determine the allocations of alimony are significant. Second research questions will be how to develop a prediction model in predicting court decisions for alimony. The last questions will be how to measure the effectiveness of the prediction model proposed. The objective of the study, the first objective is to analyze the strength of the relationships between the variables and alimony allocations using regressions and also correlation analysis. Second objective is to predict the amount of alimony using machine learning methods such as support vector machines and regressions. The third objective will be to evaluate the performance of the machine learning methods using the performance metrics. The significance of the study, we can come up with three significance. The first one is to help the judges and lawyers to only consider the important factors in determining the court decisions, also reduce the time making decisions, and to support the decision making by the judges. For the literature review parts, there are two parts. The first part will mention about the alimony, and the second part will discuss about the existing machine learning methods in predicting court decisions. For alimony itself, we are going to go through the meaning of the alimony, and there are few types of alimony. There are four types. The first one is alimony for children, alimony for the wife, alimony of ida, and also alimony of mut'ah. So we only focus on the alimony divisions for the children, where there are few variables needed to be considered before making a decision for the amount of alimony to the children. So there are three variables found. The first one is the ability of the maintenance provider. The second variable is the financial needs. And the third variable is the socio-economic status of the wife. The question here is, how can we measure the three variables mentioned here? How can we measure the ability of the maintenance provider? And also, how can we measure the financial needs by the children? And how do we measure the social economic status of the wife? So we are going to go further in how can we elaborate about the variables in determining the allocation of alimony for children. There are few papers that have been go through for the machine learning methods in predicting court decisions. So based on the current studies on the latest 20 years of study for the predicting court decisions, there are a few judicial decisions, a few of types have been using this approach, have been using a machine learning method approach in predicting the court decision. So there are 8 types of judicial decision that have been used this kind of approach. The first one is the construction litigations. The second is crime. Third, worker types. Fourth is the disengagement. Fifth is the tax law. Sixth, the parental rights. 7, divorce, and the last one is dowry. So 8 types of judicial decisions here have been used to approach from the machine learning methods to predict the outcomes of the results. And there are a few methods of machine learning method that have been used to predict the 8 types of judicial decisions mentioned just now. And the most typical machine learning methods, or the most common machine learning method used to predict the judicial decisions, are the support vector machine methods. Out of 22 papers that have been gone through for this literature review, 5 of them use support vector machines to predict the results. And the performance of the machine learning methods here was being classified into each model, each method, and the results for the accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score is being calculated and shown in the table. So we can see that most of the results for the accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score obtained above 90% of the accuracy, precision, and recall. And some of the results is above 70%. So we can say that machine learning method does helps in determining the decisions. For the methodology, I divide into 3 parts. The first one is the data source, the second is the research framework, and the third one is the proposed method. For the data sources, I obtain the data by looking into each file manually at family support divisions at Jabatan Kehakiman Syariah Negeri Johor. For this data source, I only focus on the data at Johor. We can use data at other states as well, but for a preliminary or as the initial results, I use the data from Jabatan Kehakiman Syariah Johor. So we have listed the data, and we go through the research framework as shown in this figure. For research framework divided into 3 phases. The first phase is the literature review, where we need to identify the system of alimony in Malaysia, analyze types of judicial decisions that use machine learning methods in predicting the court decisions, and analyze the existing machine learning method that have been applied in the predicting court decisions. For the second phase of this research, we would design the predictive model. By using these data collections, we are going to do a data processing and variable selections. After we obtain the significance variable, we will apply the significant variables into 2 algorithms. The first algorithm will be SVM, support vector machine, and the second algorithm will be the regressions algorithm. After we come up with each model from SVM and also regression algorithms. We are going to evaluate and analyze the accuracy, precision, recall for sensitivity, and also the F1 score. And we will come up with the predictive model. So as the proposed method, there are 3 stages. For the first stage, we are going to identify the significance variables by using a multiple linear regressions and also correlation analysis. For the multiple linear regressions, we are going to look into the p-value, and for the correlation analysis, where we would like to analyze the strength of the relationships between one variables to the another one variables, and we will study about the correlation coefficient, and we will come up with the significance variable, and this significance variable will be used in 2 algorithms, which will be covered in the stage 2, where we are going to train the data by using 2 algorithms. So both of these algorithms will go through a training process and also with the cross validations. Actually, I'm using a 10-fold cross validations, and we will come up with the train model. After both, we have the models from both algorithms, we will go for the performance evaluations on the stage 3. So for multiple linear regressions and the correlation analysis, we start with the data collections, and we look into the descriptive statistics and also analysis. Then we perform the multiple linear regressions and correlations, and we will come up with the results and discussions on the preliminary results. So based on the data, I get around 45 number of data from the Jabatan Kehakiman Syariah Negeri Johor as the initial results. We have gone through 45 data only, and from the data, we collect about the number of respondents for the plaintiff and the defendant. So for plaintiff and defendant, we look into their age and their salary, monthly salary, and also the number of children that they have, or number of children that under the respondents' care. So out of 45 number of respondents, 7 of the plaintiff are around 20 to 30 years old, and majority is around 30 to 40 years old. Same goes to the defendant, as we can see in this table, and also we can see in the graph that majority of the plaintiff and defendant age is around 30 to 40 years old. And the salary, the majority, the salary for the plaintiff is in between 0 and 1,000 ringgit Malaysia. And for the defendants, the majority is the salary is around 2,000 to 3,000. And also the number of children is just in between 1 or 4 number of children, and only 3 of the respondents have more than 4 number of children. Basically, majority of the plaintiff and defendant have 2 to 3 number of children to be considered as the alimony claim. So this is the descriptive analysis, where we go from the data previously, we go through the descriptive analysis, where we would like to see the mean, mode, and median, and also the minimum and maximum value. For the plaintiff, we can see that the mode of for plaintiff age, the mode is 38, and for the plaintiff salary, the mode is 0. So what I can say from here, we can see the mode is 0 and the median is 900. This is showing that most of the plaintiff actually is not working and a full-time housewife at home. When we go to the defendants, we can see that the defendant age is around 34, and the defendant salary, which is we consider as a variable D, the defendant salary, is the mode is 2,000, and with the minimum 1,000 and maximum 100,000. So basically the mode and median is 2000. So we can say that most of the defendants are a paid worker. So they have a monthly salary for the defendants, and for the plaintiff, most of them is a housewife. And the number of children we can have from the mode and median here is 3 number of children per family. So for multiple linear regressions and correlation analysis, there are 5 independent variables, and also the dependent variables is the amount of alimony allocated. So the 5 independent variables is the plaintiff age, plaintiff salary, defendant age, defendant salary, and also the number of children under the plaintiff care. So for parameters measured for multiple linear regressions is the p-value, and for the correlation we measure the correlation coefficients. As for the results, we would like to look into which variables are significant. So from the results, p-value for the variable D and E are close to 0 and declared as a statistically significant. So based on statistics, if the p-value is close to 0, so we consider it as a significant variables. So meanwhile, the correlation for variable, we need to check for the correlation coefficient as well to make sure to ensure our variables here have a relation between the dependent variables. So for the correlation coefficient here for variable D, the value is 0.96. If we round up, is 0.96, which means the correlation here is very strong for the defendant salary with the amount of alimony allocated. However, for the correlation coefficients of variable E, which is the number of children, is 0.3148. So we can say that the correlation here is moderate relationship. So it is not strong enough, but however, the p-value is close to 0. So we still consider this as a significant variable. So variable A, B, and C has the high p-value, and the correlation coefficient also below than 0.3, which indicate that the weak relationships between the variables. Hence, we have come up with variable D and E as the significant variables that can be used as the parameter in the predictive model. As the conclusion, this study has explained about the objective and significance of this study, including a literature review. So research framework and proposed method has been presented, and the initial result shows that the limitations of the variable selections need to be improved. As the number of significant variables seems to be limited, hence this study proposed to include more variables to be analyzed, and therefore the number of data also should be increased, and the data should consider more variables, including the categorical data as well, instead of only focusing on the quantitative data. So I guess that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aqilah, for sharing with us for the research progress. So now we will open the Q&A session. If anyone has any question or comment on Aqilah's research of the presentation. So for me, Aqilah, may I know what is the outcome for the predictions? It's like predicting how many alimony will be give to the how to say, what is the outcome from the prediction?
Okay, so actually we haven't do until the prediction part. So for this research progress, we only do for the significance variable. We're trying to figure out what are the significant variable first before we include in the predictive model.
Okay, thank you. So if there is nothing else, I think maybe we can end our session today. Thank you for your participation and see you in the next colloquium.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you for participating.